All right. Hello, everyone. I forgot to change my name here today. It says the Rise Collective instead of Zoe Levine, the movement. But welcome. Here we are again. I'm in my home studio space moving with you. And I know a lot of you are in various locations. So I want to start just with a quick ask. If you have been following along, last week we worked on that calf stretch. And just quick little either show of hands or in the chat, has anyone figured out a way to bring this into your day, either at home or at the office or both? If you were here last week, the calf stretch. Yeah, anybody? We're definitely going to review today. So if you have not brought it into your world, hi, Paula. There's still time to get that calf stretch in. And then the other things that we've been doing so far, we've had the kind of opening up your hips. We'll review that today, and I'll ask you if you've gotten that in. Ooh, on the subway, what is happening here on the subway on my commute sometimes? That's amazing. I love that. That's creative. An option that I hadn't considered before. Very cool, Kelly. And a great place for it. A lot of these things, once you get brave enough, are great for those waiting moments where we're just kind of standing around and waiting, or waiting for a call, or waiting for this. Waiting moments are really lovely to do some of these. Hi, Janine. All right, so I do want to get, let's play with the sits bones. We'll start reviewing some of the things we've practiced in the past, and then I'll bring forward, all of our work is going to be focused on your shoulders today. So even before you do a lot of movement, if you're just sitting in your chair, just sit tall on your sits bones. And remember, if you're not sure where that is, play that game of tipping forward on your sits bones. Too far, rolling back. I'll actually show what I'm doing. You can do this on the subway too. That tip forward and fall back. I remember specifically, so while we're moving here, so I did a lot of, I was in New York City for 14 years, so riding that crazy subway system. And most of the time, they're kind of bucket seats like this one. So you'd mostly be encouraged to hang out on the back, which we do in the office as well. And as you're still playing with that tip up, and I remember the day that I finally started to find my sits bones and started to feel more comfortable, even though I was leaning back, at least a little bit perched on them instead of off. And you could play with that. If you've got a chair like this, you could play with it even leaning back. You could be a little bit on your bones and off. On, off. Can you feel the difference? So you can still lean back sometimes and still have the sits bone. So I encourage you, if you are in a subway riding world, that you notice the difference between totally collapsed and a little bit up. All right, so that's your tuck and tilt, right? Playing with where you are on your sits bones. Once you're there, just settle in and let your shoulders hang and let your head be where it normally is. And I just want you to get a feel for how your shoulders and neck are feeling today. Sometimes we carry around a lot of tension and it's already like, oh my gosh, yuck. Just notice where you are today. Actually, maybe we'll start with the shoulders. We'll review all the other things and come back full circle to the shoulders. Here's your habit. I'm going to throw it at you in a few different ways. First, I just want you to notice the difference between squeezing your shoulders in. So let's go ahead and do that. Squeeze in. Your shoulder blades stick together a little bit in your back. Squeezing in. And then I want you to reach out. Shoulder blades out. So you can let your elbows bend in and squeeze in, find that tension. And then press out really wide and squeeze in. A lot of tension. Squish the shoulder blades, those wings, and then press out really wide, like your shoulder blades could reach off your back. Off. And then keep your arms wide and play that game. So it's just a squeezing in and out. Squeezing in, even with your arms long, and out. Squeezing in. It's like in and up and out and down. In and up and out and down. And check on your ribs for a second. Make sure they're not popped out. This won't work if they're popped out. In and it won't work. Drop them back. So you have some of your ribs behind you. Back. Squeeze it in. Ribs still stay dropped in the front, open in the back, and wide. Squeeze it in. Watch the popping. Drop your sternum and out. Twice more in. It's a lot of work. And out. Last one. Squeeze it in. And out. Stay out. So it's hard work, right? You're tired already. stay out, and I want you to imagine you're inside a snow globe, and you're going to start to move your hands around in that snow globe, all around, like you're just going to paint it with the palms of your hands reaching really wide, no squishing in, all wide, all shoulders down. And see, ribs stay down, drop those ribs, drop them those ribs. It's going to be harder to reach high with your ribs dropped. And just play, this is your exercise, it's the snow globe. You are inside a snow globe. This is what I was talking about with, you got to be okay with looking a little weird for a second in your office or on the subway or at Starbucks, wherever you're at. So your arms could mirror each other. That's simple. You could start playing a little bit with your arms doing their own thing. Shoulders stay down, wide, and it should be a lot of work, ideally kind of below and between the shoulder blades, rather than where we tend to put our work is in the neck. So see if you can find that softer place where you're reaching so wide and working under and behind the shoulder blades, even to go up high. It's tired, yeah, it's a good workout. See if you can keep your arms above your navel most of the time, right? So they don't get to drop down, but you're finding that reach. You could try rotating your hands. So maybe you're painting more, so a different rotation or twist as you paint the inside of your snow globe. Notice that's going to work your shoulders differently. You know, I found some not copyrighted music. Maybe we can play with it by the end. Good. And then rest. And actually, before we rest, even better, press your arms up to the sky. Push, 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 push. Drop your ribs. Don't let your ribs pop. So you might still be in front of you. Maybe that's as high as you go with your ribs drop. Reach, 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 reach. And then you're going to press, like you're pushing something away, pressing something down and wide and down and wide. Push it down and wide and down and wide and down and wide and push. With slow motion, down and wide. Drop those ribs. Slow motion, down and wide. Push, 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 push. And then you can shake it out and let your shoulders just relax there. Just relax. Notice A, that they've been worked. B, you might feel a little, we're looking for almost a little place where your shoulders can be set rather than set around your ribs, like a lampshade. If your ribs are like the light bulb, your shoulder girdle, the collarbones, the shoulder blades can feel like a lampshade just settling around. Do you feel that? Versus sometimes what we do, a lot of the times what we do for good posture, which we'll try to get out of the habit of, is this extra squeeze bit, the lift and squeeze. I'm exaggerating, but some of you might be doing this a little low key. So notice if it's just easier to let your shoulders hang out after all that work. And it's a little, maybe tired. All right, let's get up and let the shoulders rest for a moment and review some of our other habits that we've been working on. The first one was the breath and that side space. So I invite you to stand up. And we'll use breath as that side reach for a moment. And once you get better at the snow globe, is mostly with ribs still, right? Eventually you can start more of a reaching, bending sort of experience. So let's just take a little side bend, reaching up, not down necessarily yet, but just up, breathing into the side ribs. Maybe sighing out, breathing to the side ribs. And then you can show of hands or in the chat, you can always let me know if you found a place where you pause and kind of find your breath. Maybe it's at home before bed. Maybe it's in between things. Try the other side. Just a big side bend, acknowledging the ribs being a place we can get stuck. Filling up the side space. Sighing them in. One more big breath. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe you find a moment to breathe into your belly during the day. Maybe that's it. Okay, so if you have had any moments to find your breath, you are winning. And if you haven't, just maybe make a little mental note. Hi, Susan. Hi, Holly. Maybe make a little mental note to have some pauses built into your day. And then we talked about unlocking the pelvis, right? If you're going to be able to sit on those sits bones they can't be glued down to your hamstrings, which they just are a lot of the times. So if you can use your desk or chair for this one, many different ways. You could be kind of forearms on the desk or the back of the chair. If that doesn't work, you can hold on to the chair, put hands on the base of the chair. You could start with your feet narrow and you're just trying to open up your tail. So that thing that kind of glues those sits bones down toward your hamstrings, you're trying to let your sits bones be free and up. This is another one you got to be okay with kind of being a little bit the weird one in the office, maybe, or out on the field, taking a little break to open up, traveling, even like a car break after you get out of the car. If you've been traveling for a while, just a little like, hey, open that space up. You can wiggle there, you can side to side it, you can bend the knee, you can take your legs even wider, same idea, but get cozy, get comfortable, right? Maybe there's a little bending of one knee and the other. And I encourage you always to be able to play here. Maybe you're standing here reading a memo, like you're just kind of need a little break from sitting. You could still read something in front of you while you hang out here. You don't have to move around. You can just stay still. You can also combine that side spaced reach. Oh, yes, with that opening of the tail. Right, you can kind of start the idea of we're going to end up getting into some squat sort of movements later, but this is kind of a baby step, being able to open the tail here. Notice I'm not tucking the tail. I'm not going to sad puppy this. I'm going to stick your booty up back and just find a little space and a little length. And again, if that's too weird for the office, find a private space and still, you're allowed to still move, even if you can't do it in the most public of places. Right? So play with that a little bit. And then we also did the calf stretch, and this is the one. I'm so glad you love this, Holly. This is the one we did last week where I used, I'll find a towel here. I was using kind of a half dome, but I can just kind of bunch up or ball up a blanket. If you are in the office, don't have access, you could use several books stacked up if you're comfortable with that. You could use a couple shoes. The whole idea is you're trying to get a little bit of a tall thing that you could put your toes on and just stand with your heels down and your toes stretched up and kind of ground in. I know there's a lot of you in that big open room with the hair. I don't know, it's not going to be quite like this. I don't know if it's quite like something where you could kind of have your toes up on the leg of the chair. The wall, it's challenging because eventually you want your other foot to come forward. So the wall is tricky, but if it's pretty tight, you could try toes on the wall for now. The idea is to stay on the same foot for a bit of time. Stay there. Just reading the "that feels so good" comments. So we're still on the same foot. I'm just adjusting my messy padding. So it doesn't have to be beautiful by any means. And then as you get better at it, as you get that pull in the back of the calf a little bit longer, and today and over time, like this is one of those that will change the way you walk for the better. It'll change the way you go up and down stairs with less knee kind of compression, more hip and space in the foot. And then eventually maybe that other foot comes up and over. Okay, we've been on this side for a bit of time. I'm not one to time everything. Just step back before you go to the other side. Feel what it feels like to be on your 2 feet for a moment. Notice that there's a difference. This isn't nothing. It's not some random thing I'm just bossing you around with. This is what I use to support people to transform everything, all the aches and pains that they come to me with. Try the other side. All the most common ones. We're sharing in little tiny bits over time all the major players that you will need for a body that functions well and can still work at a desk and be able to get up and, climb a mountain on the weekends, whatever's going to happen. And that's what we're looking for. Something that will last, something that functions well. works efficiently. So we're not overusing and abusing and wearing and tearing everything. So these are all the foundational tools. And if you can start peppering them in throughout your day, at work, at home, wherever they kind of find a little easy, quick home, it's gonna make all the difference in the world. So heel is on the floor. We've been here for a while. Toes are lifted. We've got our little support just hanging out, not popping the ribs, not sitting into the hamstrings, just kind of stacking everything, weight in both feet. If there's room as we hang out here, you might find things lengthen out and you can step a little bit further forward, or this is a big ask right now, in which case definitely keep doing it, right? This is important. If you don't have enough space to kind of hang out with something really high under your toes and that other foot forward, that's messing with you in many ways. So look for that space. And it's a daily ask. It's, I want a little bit more today and a little bit more and a little bit more. And it's not linear, but over time, eventually you'll wake up one morning and be like, oh yeah, I remember when she said I'd be able to do this. Okay. Once you've been there forever, which we have, go ahead and step back on your own 2 feet. I do tend to prefer to do this without shoes. I didn't mention, I only demonstrated, but play with what you've got. If you're on the subway, you'll have your shoes on. That's fine. You're still getting a pull. So notice that difference, right? We all feel a little bit more grounded and open, feet, legs feel longer. I don't know, how else would you describe it? Different, better, right? Something better. And then let's go back to review, to wrap it up. Shoulders, you can do this standing or sitting. If you're sitting, notice if it's easier to get a little bit more perched on your sits bones and feel at home there. This is another thing that I want you to watch over time. Ideally, it doesn't take a lot of work to be stacked and appear to have a kind of a stacked, easeful posture, not anything that you're holding on for dear life for. So once you're there, let's play with our arms. Remember, it's not, I call this Barbie shoulders, where, you know, the Barbie shoulders just get plugged in, like, so, you know, how many of you walk around where you feel like you've got that constantly, a little like Barbie shoulders connected in, ready to type, ready to work. So instead, could you find a widening? You can play with the snow globe in a very reachy, long arm way. So we're just gonna go back. This is your homework for the week. This is, again, nice. You've been typing for a while, hands off. Maybe you're just looking at the screen. Maybe you're just tight from a day on the job or traveling. This, I feel like this should be okay to do in front of other people. Like you could make it look a little bit more natural, just like that, you know, like we would take a good morning yawn, but don't pop your ribs. Yeah. That there's time and a place for everything. This is a little bit more for that shoulder blade support. You're not going to get it. And then even without your ribs down. And then you could make it a little bit more flowy and just the challenge of my arms will not fall below my waist. My shoulders will be wide and easy. So you could kind of play with it, make it what you want. You could try some rotations. And just feel what your range of motion is, right? You might not be able to go all the way up without your ribs popping. So it might be out in front and try to find a little space behind you. Your job is to keep your neck. You see me doing my little Stevie Wonder head because you want to keep your neck easy. So if you feel your neck starting to get into it, give it a little bobble. Reach it wide, 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 and down. Let the ribs settle. Shake it all out. Notice if it's, again, easier to be on your sits bones. Ribs can settle, shoulders draped around the ribs. That will save your neck when you start to get that in place. So when we get here all the time that your neck is like, and your shoulder blades, your upper back, your mid back, or we'll all get cranky with that pattern. Width, and you can use your breath for that idea of width. And we are right at time. How's everyone feeling? We understand the homework for this week. So think about where you might put that, right? Where does it feel okay, just for a moment, to find a little snow globe of space? You can add head and neck. You can play with this, isn't it? This is it, right? Awesome. And that's it for today.
Can I throw in a challenge to the group?
Yes, please.
I challenge everyone to find one person to do your snow globe homework with who has not joined yet.
Oh, that's a good challenge. Yes, we should. That's how we're going to pull everyone in. We got to do that every week.
Yeah.
Slowly pull them in. Great. Let's do it.
Thank you, Zoe.
Accepted. I see a lot of challenges accepted. Bring your person in next week. Thank you. Bye, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, unmute and say hi or bye before you run.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.